You're on a box, you're on Nmap, you've got some ports open, maybe a web server, maybe SSH. You poked around a little bit, and now you're just sitting there, staring at your terminal. You don't know what to do next. So what do? You open another tab on your browser, Google the box name, find a walkthrough, and follow someone else's thinking instead of your own. And look, I get it. We've all been there. But here's the problem. You can do that 100 times and still freeze the next time you're on the box alone. Because you're not building the skill that actually matters. The skill isn't knowing every tool. It's not memorizing every exploit. The skill is knowing how to think about what to do next when nobody's telling you what to do. That's what separates someone who can follow a walkthrough from someone who can actually do this job. So today I'm going to give you the exact thinking process I use. After 20 plus years of professional pen testing and red teaming, every single time I need to decide my next move. And it's a lot simpler than you probably think. And I want to be clear, I'm going to use CTF boxes as the context here, because that's where most of you are practicing. But this thinking process, this is the same loop I run on real-world penetration tests and red team engagements. This is the skill that translates directly from a hack-the-box machine to an actual job. So if you're practicing CTFs right now, hoping to break into the industry, this might be the most important skill you can build. It's not just a CTF methodology, it's how red team operators think. What I've noticed over the years, beginners and experienced operators, they often know the same tools. Seriously, you both know Nmap, you both know GoBuster, Burp, LinPiece, whatever. The toolbox is pretty similar. So what's actually different? The difference is what happens between the tools. A beginner runs Nmap, looks at the output, doesn't immediately see anything obvious, and panics. They either start guessing or they start throwing tools at the wall hoping something sticks. An experienced operator runs Nmap, looks at the output and asks themselves a series of questions. They think before they act, every time. That thinking process, that loop that runs in the background, that's what I want to give you today. I've been doing this so long that in practice it's become instinct for me. I don't even think about it consciously anymore. But I sat down and actually broke down what my brain is doing. And it comes down to 4 questions. 4 questions you can ask yourself every time you're stuck in a box. Let me walk you through them. First question, what do I know right now? This sounds so basic, right? But I promise you, this is where most people go wrong. You've been running scans, poking at services, maybe reading config files, and all of that information is just scattered. It's in different terminal windows, different tabs. You've all forgotten what that Nmap scan actually showed you 20 minutes ago. So stop. Write down what you've got. What ports are open? What services are running? What versions? What OS is this? Have I found any usernames? Any credentials? Any interesting files? What do I actually know right now? I don't care if it's a text file, a notepad, cherry tree, Obsidian, Notion, whatever you like, but keep a running doc. Every time you learn something new about the target, add it in, because it forces you to actually process the information instead of just glancing at it. And when you come back to it 10 minutes later, you can see everything in one place. I can't tell you how many times I've solved a box just by reading back through my own notes and going, wait, I missed that? So for question 1, before you do anything else, write down what you know. Second question, what haven't I checked yet? This is the big one, because the key point is when people say, I'm stuck, what they almost always actually mean is, I haven't enumerated enough. And I know that's not what you want to hear. Nobody wants to hear go back and enumerate more. But it's true, probably 90% of the time. So look at your notes from question 1 and now ask yourself, where are the gaps? Are there services running that I haven't actually dug into? Did I only do a basic Nmap scan? Did I check UDP? Did I run scripts against those services? Is there a web server? Have I done directory brute forcing? Have I checked for subdomains? Have I actually read the page source? And it's not just about running more tools. Sometimes it's about going deeper on what you already have. Did you actually read that Nmap output line by line? Or did you just skim it, looking for something obvious? Because let me tell you, some of my best finds over the years came from going back and slowly rereading output I already looked at once. First time through, you're skimming. Second time through, something jumps out that you completely missed. So question 2, find what you haven't looked at yet. Because the answer to I'm stuck is almost always sitting in something you overlooked. Third question, what's the highest value path from here? So now you got your notes. You know what you haven't checked. And there's probably multiple things you could try next. Maybe there's a service you haven't enumerated, a directory you haven't checked, a credential you haven't tried somewhere else. So which one do you go after? This is where you prioritize. And you're not guessing here. You're making a judgment call based on what you know. Think about it like this. If you found a service running on an outdated version of something, that's probably high value. If you found a password and there are other services you haven't tried it on, high value. If there's a writable directory on a web server, high value. You're looking for things that are likely to actually give you something useful. Now, in a real-world pen test, you're also thinking about scope, time constraints, and what the client actually cares about. On a red team engagement, you're adding stealth and whatever the actual target is on top of that. But the thinking, what do I know? What haven't I checked? What's the best move? That stays the same. And yes, experience helps with this. The more boxes you do, the better your gut gets at knowing what's worth pursuing. But the logic works even if you're brand new. You don't need experience to think, I found a credential and I haven't tried it on SSH yet. Let me try that before I go brute forcing directories. That's just common sense, right? You're just applying that common sense deliberately instead of randomly picking something. If you're generally not sure about what to prioritize, use this general rule. Go after low-hanging fruit first. Known vulnerable versions, reused credentials, misconfigured permissions. Start with the easy wins. If those don't pan out, then you go deeper. Fourth question. Well, it's not really a question, it's more of a step. Try it, then loop back to question 1. Whatever you decided is the highest value path, go do it. Run the exploit, test the credential, enumerate the service, whatever it is. And the important thing to note is, whether it works or it doesn't, you now have new information. If it worked, great. You've got new access, new data, more to work with. Go back to question 1. If it failed, that's still progress. You've eliminated the path. You know more than you did 5 minutes ago. Go back to question 1. This is a loop, not a checklist. You're meant to cycle through these questions over and over throughout an entire engagement. Every time you finish a step, run the loop again. What do I do now? What haven't I checked? What's the best move? Try it, repeat. And that's it. That's the whole process. 4 questions. What do I do now? What haven't I checked? What's the highest value path? Try it and loop. I know it sounds simple, and it is, but simple doesn't mean easy. The hardest part isn't understanding the loop. The hard part is actually forcing yourself to slow down and do it when you're on a box and your brain is screaming at you to just run another tool. It takes practice, but if you start using this every time you sit down on a box, you will get unstuck faster. You'll stop guessing And over time, this loop will become instinct. You won't even have to think about it anymore. It will just be how you operate. If you're working on a box right now and you're stuck, drop it in the comments. Tell me what you know and what you've tried, and I'll point you in the right direction. And if you want to keep learning, watch this video next, where I break down the key differences between pen testing and red teaming in cybersecurity. That's it for this one, and I'll see you in the next video.